Announcements. Yeah, so some of you that came late, we're recording. So if you don't want to be in the recording, turn your name off, turn your video off, however you want to address that. Up in your corner is Jody. She's our master of all kinds of great things for events like this. So we look toward her, to her to help us. So anyway, here we go. So welcome. All Together is our All Together evening event. I'm Beth Ha, and thank you so much for coming. I don't know, let's see how many board members. We have a couple board members. I was going to say wave your hand if you're a board member, but some videos are off, so sorry about that. The mission of All Together is to improve the quality of life of the community of the greater Williamsburg by bringing together people across racial, ethnic, and cultural lines to communicate and engage in activities that foster unity, inclusiveness, and equal opportunity. All Together provides opportunities for people to gather socially and engage in ideas and learn about one another. We also have a website, so go visit our website. It's Williamsburg. It's alltogetherwilliamsburg.org. We have some videos, we have upcoming events on it, although we're a little behind right now because of my little situation. But visit there. It shows some of the things that we do, what we engage in, and gives you a little bit of background about us. And we have book lists and videos, all kinds of great things on there. Just wanted to give you a little update. We just finished our season of the Black Lives Matter lemonade stand for this year. We go to Duke of Gloucester Street while the farmers market is going on, and we talk to the community about why Black Lives Matter. This was Jessica O'Brien and I started this many years ago. And it's been a really wonderful experience for us. And we're hoping in the spring to open up and have an orientation so we can get more folks to come and be a part of this really, I think, important thing that we are doing in the community. So we also have some upcoming events, and by the way, on the lemonade stand, you'll hear about this. And if you're signed up, you can sign up to be a member at our website. And if you do, you can also sign up to be a part of the lemonade stand. We'd be very grateful for your support or even coming by and seeing us. So we have some upcoming events that I'm going to just give you a little bit of information about. January, we're going to, this kind of came up very quickly, and we're really excited about it. The film that First Baptist did with the Let Freedom Ring and Colonial Williamsburg, History Half Told is Untold is the name of the film. We're going to be showing it at the library. So that date will be coming to you soon. But look for that in our newsletter to you. That was it's already been shown on PBS, and some organizations have shown it around town, but here's another opportunity if you haven't seen it. It's about an hour long, and we hope you come and take a look at that. February, we usually don't schedule an event. We have we participate in local events around town for Martin Luther King's birthday. And then in March, we have something really special coming up. We did something really different. We put together a documentary on the Asian experience, the Asian American experience. So we have some folks that are being discuss their experiences, and we're really looking forward to something we've never done before. So we produced a documentary. So all of that said, please again take a look at our website, sign up, subscribe, and we can get into the discussion. So tonight I'm very honored to be sharing with you something that I was a part of through the Coalition for Community Justice. Jessica Sapalio up in the, on the screen, she will tell you a little bit about the organization and what we do. But one of the aspects of what we decided to take on was looking at and supporting persons who had been previously incarcerated to have their rights restored, their voting rights. And so we weren't sure how we were going to do it. We weren't sure how we were going to meet these folks and help them to do that. But we really felt like it was one more piece of this really large community justice initiative that needed our support. So one of the things that we did was we looked at how easy it was for us to support people to do that. So there's a website. It's pretty simple to go into. It's restore.virginia.gov, and it's a website that the governor put together to have this ability. So Governor Northam had updated the eligibility and criteria for restoration of rights, and individuals are now eligible to have their rights restored after being released from incarceration. So we put together a little business card that has this information on it. You can't see it, but we have them. And we started handing them out and going into the community and talking to the community about how we could engage them or find folks that needed to have this support. And it just so happens that I was at a really cool event when we were, it was out at the courthouse, and a gentleman named Ryan came to me and we were chatting, and I told him one thing that I was doing and trying to just, let other people know that this wasn't something that we were trying to put forth. And he said, well, I want that for me. And so I'm going to let Ryan tell his story. We do have another gentleman that's going to come on, and he has another hat that he's wearing tonight. So he is not quite here yet. But I just want to tell you, for me, this has been an amazing experience. It's something that I feel is really exceptional for what we are doing in Virginia to make sure that, everyone has the right to vote and have a voice in our elections. And, one of the other things that they are allowed to do is serve on a trial, as a person in on a trial, and they are also able to do. Gosh, I'm losing words here. There are several things that are a part of what happens when you have your rights restored. So I'm going to ask Ryan if he would to share his experience, what he feels he wants to share about it, and what this has meant to him.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan, and I just want you to know that today that I'm grateful and thankful for this opportunity, and just to let everyone know that no matter what position or situation that you may be in your life, just believe that all things are possible. All things are possible. And didn't think so at one time in my life, where I made some bad choices. And I'm a firm believer that life itself is based on the choices that you make. And it could hinder you as the years go on. It can catch up with you from the choices that you make in the early stage in your life. And I admit that I made some bad choices that got me in a place where I didn't think and didn't know how I was going to get out of it. But during my life, my lifespan, I started going to church, and that has been, with God in my life, has been my biggest motivation to where I'm at today. I can sit there and talk all myself about me and what I've done, but all the glory and honor goes to God. It's because of him that I'm here today and that I'm able to express myself in the way that I am. And I speak truly from the bottom of my heart. I could probably, if I took the time, write a book on my life history and where I'm at today. Years ago, I'll just be a little brief and just give a little summary of where God has brought me from. And I remember back in I think it was 97, where I'm just going to be point blank honest. I drank a lot in my life. So I would consider myself back then that I was a alcoholic. And to say that, I'm not ashamed to say that now, because that person is not who I am today. And it caused me to lose a lot of things in my life by, again, about the choices that I made. So I lost my license, and I was declared a habitual offender. So not only that, my voting rights were also taken away from me. And I went without a license for years and years. And I must say that other than my son, who I love dearly, being the greatest thing that I feel that has happened to me, me overcoming that addiction that I had. And listen, when I say had, it's had. That has been now. I stopped drinking back in 1993. So I think that's roughly about 28 years ago. And the same thing that caused me to my downfall has been a stepping stool in my life. The same thing that pulled me down has given me the courage to not even look at towards alcohol. And I don't condemn anybody. Everybody makes does what they want. And make their own choices. But for me, and where I was in my life, the alcohol, where God is just taking like a blinder. If I even go into a 7-Eleven, where once upon a time when I went in there and I would make a right turn, and the right turn is where the alcohol would be. And I can go into a 7-Eleven now and make that same right turn, and alcohol is nowhere in my vision. And I'm just so thankful and grateful for God doing that for me. But not being able to vote has also been an obstacle in my life. And it had been for so long, for so many years, that, I really didn't even think about voting when voting came up. I just knew that I wasn't eligible to vote. So I was down at my pastor's house, and his daughter was having an event up at the courthouse, the George Floyd rally. And, it just so happened, God would put you in a place where you need to be at a certain time. And, I had no idea. And she invited me. And I said, sure, I would go. And by me going, I really enjoyed myself. Had never really been to anything like that before. But that's what change does. And I went there, and like Beth was saying, I met her, and I'm telling you what, she has been so. Oh man, I can't even describe how her spirit is. She's so nice and kind, and just took the time with me. And I was telling her about wanting to vote again, and how long it had been. And just sticking with her, and just was able to accomplish that. And I was home one day. It took a while. It's about 2 to 3 months, actually 3 months. I went to the mailbox, and I seen this envelope, and came in the house and sat down, and I opened it, and it was a certificate, saying that my voting rights had been restored. That really was a great thing to me. That's really undescribable. I have it right now, where I went out and I brought a frame, and I have it hanging on the wall in my house right now. And every time I walk by it, I have it, so when I got it in a place where when I walk to my room, I have to see it. And it's a constant reminder of, like I said earlier, that all things are possible. And like I said, I could go just on and on and on and on and on about the great things that God has done for me. I have to keep mentioning his name, because without him, none of this is possible. I wouldn't be in this place that I am today. And I'm just, like I said earlier, I'm just so grateful and thankful, for just you guys allowing me to be a part of you, and I feel that we're in this all together, and each and every one of our voices, it just says a lot, and it means so much if we can it just all come together. I pray that one day that it happen, and it may not look like it, but we just gotta trust and believe through all that we are going through, that this thing is going to get better. So I'm just so glad to be here. And once again, I appreciate and thank you for allowing me to share my testimony with you. God bless.
One of the things that because I had not helped anyone before, in Ryan's case, when we went to the website, and the website is very easy to do. It's very easy to navigate. And when we went to it, it said that when you register, and it sends you a page, and it says status, and it said pending. And then it said as a note that pending, being in a pending position could take anywhere from 1 to 3 months. So that was a little daunting to think that, it could take that long. And actually in Ryan's case, it did. It took 3 months to get it through. When Steve comes, his situation was a little different. His experience was a little different in how it worked out for him. But and I also wanted to say there's a lot of persons whose rights have been restored that they don't even know it, because the system has already applied the information. And again, in Steve's case, his had already been restored, but he wasn't aware of it. It was restored in 2016. They didn't notify him of that. So yeah, anyway, I think it was, I'm so happy that you shared your story, Ryan. And I'm just so grateful to have met you and to be a part of, for me, it was a pretty powerful experience as well. So, and Ryan has also said he wants to be a part of helping other people. And I think that's the other part of this too, is there's a lot of work to be done. And I feel like we could really go out and find the folks that have been in Ryan's situation who really want to be able to be part of our system of voting. And what it, I mean, your story, what it means to you to be able to vote is just moving in so many ways that we take that for granted. And so, yeah. Does anyone have any questions for Ryan? I don't see that Steve's gotten on here yet, right? Has Steve gotten on yet, Jody?
No.
No, okay.
And we have a couple of messages of congratulations in the chat for Ryan on getting your rights restored.
Yes, thank you. Can I say one more thing?
Please.
Absolutely.
Yes, I forgot. I just wanted to implement too that day that I went to vote. I man, it just felt so good that when I did vote to go in there to vote, I called. I don't know if I called Beth or we text her or what, and I told her that I voted, and that meant so much to me that I went and I took the time and I voted. Oh man, that was wonderful. I just wanted to say that too. That was an awesome feeling.
Yeah, when you're filling out the information too, if you are cleared to vote, it takes you to a page and say, do you want to apply for your voter registration? We didn't get to that with Ryan, but we did with Steve. And so we went through the whole process of registering him to vote. And at the very end, it says, do you want to get a mailed copy, a mailed ballot, or do you want to vote in person? And I remember because Ryan was in the room too when we went through the process with Steve, and he said, no, I want to go in person and vote. He was really clear. He wanted to go there and do that. So
I see we do have a question from Mary Jane. Mary Jane, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask your question.
I wonder, Ryan, what is your life like now other than just that? I mean, how has it been since you got out, and what are you doing? And just how do you feel about life?
Oh man, I am so once again thankful and grateful. I remember a time in my life where I had nothing, and today, and that's why I stated that all things are possible, because where I'm at today in my life, everything that I went through, it was so hard, but I look at where I'm at, where I'm at now in my life, on a daily basis. I'm work, I'm church, I'm at church, and I'm home. So, and with my son, I'm saying my time with my son, who is awesome. You know, he inspires me and encourages me, you know, each and every day. You know, so him, and I only have one child, and I am so glad. I've always wanted, you know, to have a kid, and God has blessed me with him. But you know, to have a home, um, to have a when I lost my license, I can say now, not just losing my license, I have a CDL license now. So, you know, and I've been having my CDLs for now over 20 something years. You know, so to not even have a, you know, to lose a license and to get my CDLs, and I look back, you know, where I was, to not having anything to where I'm at today, it's just truly amazing. I'm just a person that's thankful and grateful on today.
Thank you. Eileen O'Brien has a hand raised.
Okay, so my name's Caden. I'm on my mom's computer, but I was wondering, when you get your rights taken away, how long do you not have them for?
Well, Ken, in my situation, like I said, I was the cause, you know, of you know, me having my rights taken away, and by the governor, you know, doing what he did, you know, allowed people like me to have their rights restored. So I don't have a definitive, definite, you know, answer for how long that it will take, you know, for you to. I feel now that, you know, if I had to answer you, because you know he has passed this law, that you may be able to just to go now, and you know, like talk to Beth. You know, I think that's why we're here now. You know, so we can get, you know, I don't know your situation, but you know, if you are in that situation, I think, you know, that this is the right place and time for you to look into it, and maybe you have the, you know, the same later had the same testimony where you can hang your plaque on the wall, you know.
If someone doesn't take action to get their rights restored, it doesn't happen automatically, does it? There's no point at which someone's rights are restored without them having to do something. Is that correct?
No, that's not. Actually, in Steve's case, and I wish he was here. I just texted him again. He's trying to get someone to take his place where he is. In his case, because his infraction was so long ago, they are going through the files, I assume, that are sitting in some big storeroom and plugging in persons who had been incarcerated long ago. So in his case, when we applied, instead of it saying pending, it said restored. So
Yeah.
his had already been restored, but he was not aware of it. He didn't get a notice saying, yeah, you know, it's okay. So again, when I did it, because the other person I had heard that had their rights restored, it was pretty spontaneously as well. So Ryan's case kind of threw us off a little bit, like, oh gosh, did I do the application wrong? That was my first thought, was, you know, maybe I did something wrong. But yeah, the system itself, I guess, is trying to catch up to this, and your rights could be restored. I think also people who are leaving the prison system now are just immediately getting them restored as they leave, you know, the system. So
Jessica Sapalio put a note in the chat saying Governor Northam will consider restoration of rights for any individuals that have finished any term of incarceration as a result of a felony conviction. Once released from incarceration, individuals are eligible even if they are still on supervised release, including probation or parole. We have a couple other hands raised. Cheryl Clark.
Unmute.
Hello, and thank you, Ryan, for appearing with us.
Yes,
I thought until very recently, like this recent spate of governor's actions or legislative actions, that you never had your rights restored. Wasn't that once you committed a felony, that was it?
Unless you were pardoned.
Yes.
Unless the governor or someone pardoned you, yeah.
So this is within the last, what, 5 or 10 years at the most?
I think it's been 2 years now. Didn't it happen? Trying to remember the year. I think it's only been 2 years that this has
And
occurred.
it has to happen state by state?
No, it's only in the state of Virginia. Every state does it differently.
That's what I meant, yes.
Didn't it just happen at the end of McAuliffe's time? Or at McDonald's time, the guy before Northam? Isn't that when it happened, just at the end of his?
No, it was Governor Northam's initiative. There were some, McDonald had started the ball, but it never
Yeah, it was
followed.
backlogged and you couldn't.
Yeah. And they've attempted it over the years, even Warner. I mean, I'd read the history of it too. And if you go on the website, you can see that too, it's been attempted and talked about for years. It just finally, Northam just finally brought it all together. Somebody had also asked, it's assumed that you get your opportunity to have a gun, and that is not the case. So that right is not restored. You have to, that's on a person by person basis. So the governor would have to restore that ability or that thing that you had lost. So that's just as a FYI. So what I'm going to do is, what I'm thinking is, Jessica, would you just like to kind of give a little background of the coalition? Oh, sorry, Thayer,
Sure.
did you have
And
another
I'm sorry,
question?
Beth, we have one more person with
Oh.
a hand raised too.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, go ahead.
All right, Jenny?
Hi, Ryan. Thanks so much for sharing your story. It's very uplifting.
yes.
I wanted to know, when did you lose your voting rights? And so how many years has it been that you were not able to vote?
So I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Jenny.
Jenny, okay, yes, if I'm not mistaken, I think I lost my voting rights when I lost my license, when I became a habitual offender. And I think at that particular time, which was in 1987.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's been it's been that long since I've had since my voting rights were actually taken away from me.
I just can't imagine how moving it must have been to be able to walk into that polling place and cast a vote after all this time.
I mean, I felt, so, as I was driving up, and I did an early vote. I did the early vote, and I just felt so motivated, and it just inspired me that I was able to go in and vote. It meant so much to me. That's why I hung that certificate up on my wall, that it'd be a reminder when I walk past it, that it's a constant reminder.
Well, congratulations on all your accomplishments.
Thank you.
I absolutely love the idea also that, our voting rights are so important. And when you lose them, it's just, it's pretty powerful to know that you've been able to go and change that. So I really do want you to hear Steve's story too. So I was thinking maybe we could go over and let Jessica tell you a little bit about the coalition, and then hopefully Steve will come because his story is pretty awesome too, right, Ryan?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Jessica Sapalio is our fearless leader for the Coalition for Community Justice, and she's amazing. So
All
take
right.
it away.
All right. Thanks, Beth. And thanks everybody for having me tonight. I'm actually really excited to be here because the last time that I spoke with you all was just a few months after our coalition was founded. And this opportunity was really a turning point for our coalition because so many of you actually on the call, probably at least a third of the people on the call are now members of our coalition, and we want all the rest of you to become a member. But this, speaking with all together, we have so many like-minded people that are interested in this issue, and it really boosted our coalition, and we're now doing so much more. So I'm going to share my screen, just share a couple of slides. Beth or Jody, just flag me when Stephen joins and I'll wrap up quickly so to give him ample time to talk. But just give me 1 second, I'm going to share. Okay. So our WJCC Coalition for Community Justice, we advocate for criminal legal system reform on all aspects of the system. So we are working locally, we're working at the state level, we do some national advocacy work. So really looking at many levels of the system, but also different aspects of the system. And really, Ryan's story is the why. We are out to make a difference to individuals and to take this process that we hear about in this criminal legal system process that affect so many people and really affect Black and brown lives disproportionately and do something about them. I think many of you have heard me say before that our criminal legal system is just a modern day version of slavery, and it's just a way to cage Black and brown people. And I strongly believe that, and our system is designed to do that. So just quickly, our history, we started with the George Floyd protests. These are some pictures locally from that. But I just want to talk tonight, give you some updates since we last talked, starting with some of the numbers. How just is our justice system? And I really refer to it as criminal legal system because it is not a criminal justice system. It is just for very few. Just to give you a quick overview, at Virginia statewide numbers, if you look at mass incarceration, Black people make up 18% of our population, but 58% of our jail and prison population. So something is clearly wrong there. Then, of course, one of the main tenets of our criminal legal system is innocent until proven guilty. We all kind of grow up knowing that. And yet more than 40% of people being held in Virginia's jails have yet to be found guilty of a crime. These are people who are accused but not found guilty. And they're sitting there because they either were denied bail or they can't afford bail. And often just one day in jail can cause people to lose jobs, homes, and sometimes even custody of their children. It truly is life-changing. Then when you look at policing and how do people end up in the system, just here locally, Black people make up about 15% of our population in James City County and Williamsburg, but 41 to 44% of all the arrests. So Blacks are about 3 to 5 times more likely than whites to be arrested, and in Williamsburg 2 to 3 times. A majority of our arrests, in fact, are drug and alcohol related. And these offenses have accounted for a majority of their arrests. And for Blacks have been arrested at a rate between 2 to 4 times greater than white for drug and alcohol offenses. And then we get to traffic stops. This was data that we actually recently got access to. And Ginny is actually our data guru and analyzes the numbers for us. This is for Williamsburg and James City County, but we actually just got York data as well that we're working on. And stops are much more frequent in Williamsburg than James City County. This is kind of an interesting number that Ginny put together. If you look at kind of stops per square mile, in Williamsburg, it's 619 traffic stops per square mile, but in James City County, only about 27. But regardless of jurisdiction, Blacks are stopped at a far higher rate than whites, 29% of all stops, but again, only 15% of the population. Whites are 66% of the stops, but they make up 75 to 80% of the population. So you can see there's just a vast disparity going on here. And there's also, when we look at, who was, whose cars were searched, was anything found, those numbers are hugely disparate as well. So there is a problem. I've been on a lot of calls recently where we've heard from our local police departments talking a lot about community policing and the wonderful things they're doing to outreach to the community. And while I believe some things are being done, clearly these numbers are showing not enough. And we need to ask why and what's going to change and how's it going to change and when. Our coalition's priorities are police accountability, court watch program, drug courts, pretrial justice reform, and voting rights restoration, as you heard so wonderfully. So I'm just going to kind of go through these quickly and tell you updates with them. We are still, for police accountability, we are still advocating for civilian oversight boards for both Williamsburg and James City County Police Departments. These are committees that are made up purely of civilians. There are no police or law enforcement members. They would be chosen independently, not chosen by the police, and any complaints to the police would go and be adjudicated by this board, and then disciplinary recommendations would be made. You may have heard both of our local police chiefs talk about setting up citizen advisory committees. This is not the same thing. This is their answer when we ask for accountability. They say, well, we have these citizen advisory committees, and they're great, and there's members of the community. And first of all, the boards have not been set up. They're in the process of doing that. Second of all, the police are the ones choosing the people who will serve on these boards. And finally, they will not have any oversight abilities. They will not handle complaints against the police, and they will not be independent. We want a board that could benefit the whole community, truly give civilians a voice. This will really improve transparency and accountability and equity, and is actually create safer environments for the police, because communities can then trust their police departments more. So that is a big thing that we're pushing for and trying to get our city council and board of supervisor members on board with this. The other thing that we're working on in police accountability is a bill that Delegate Mike Mullen has put forward to make police disciplinary records available through FOIA requests. So if you want to find out what complaints were filed against the Williamsburg Police Department, this bill would make it so that you could go and place a FOIA request and get all of that information. That bill was at the FOIA Council itself, was reviewing that to decide if they thought it was a good idea. And they overwhelmingly thought that that was an important part of accountability and transparency, and that this should go forward. So we have a bit of an uphill battle seeing the change in our House and to get this bill passed, but we're going to be fighting for it this General Assembly. We have a court watch program so that we can evaluate what's going on in our courtrooms. And I highly suggest to anybody interested in learning more about what happens in our criminal legal system to spend a day or two in court. It is amazing what you see and hear in the courtrooms, and you can truly see who's being affected and how their lives are being affected. Our court watch program has been on hold with COVID. We didn't want to be putting people in the courtrooms But we're hoping that if our numbers continue to go down, that we'll restart the program in January. So stay tuned. I'll ask Beth to send an email to all of you. Once that is up and running, we'll do an online training and then have a shadow day where you can come with me to court. But we collect data. We just sit in the courtroom. It only takes about 20 minutes, and we sit and we listen to the people's first appearance before a judge, and we collect data on race and ethnicity and indigency status, and plus all the qualitative stuff. What's going on in their life? Is staying in jail going to make them lose their job? Those kinds of things that we're trying to create a picture of what is really going on in our courts. And then we work a lot on pretrial justice reform. So this is before you get to your court hearing. This is we have, like I said at the beginning, we have tons of people just sitting that have not been found guilty, sitting in our jails, and we really need to move to a system of pretrial freedom. There is little evidence that holding people pretrial makes them show up to court. I mean, obviously, if they're held, if they're held pretrial, but using things like cash bail and other oppressive systems like ankle monitors do very little to have people show up to court. So we're working on a couple things. The first is called counsel at first appearance. This is making sure everybody has a lawyer their first time before they go before a judge. I mean, just think about if you've been arrested, you maybe don't know what you did wrong. You might not understand the process, what happens next. You're put before a judge. You don't know if you can ask to be released on bail. You don't know the system, and you don't have a lawyer to help you. And that's what happens in most jurisdictions in Virginia. So we want to make sure that everyone has a lawyer by their side the first time that they're before a judge. And this has massive effects on people being released sooner, people not pleading guilty, and just drastically changes the outcomes of their trials. So we actually today we were testifying on this at the Virginia Crime Commission. This is a bipartisan issue, so we're really hoping that it has legs to make it through General Assembly. So I'll be getting in touch with everybody to write letters, emails of support once we're at that point. And then the next thing is we'll be working on over the next year or two a huge omnibus piece of legislation to completely revise our pretrial system and hopefully end mass pretrial incarceration in Virginia. So that's going to be huge. It's going to be things involving everything from cash bail to pretrial detention and monitoring, things that I mentioned, just anything that you can imagine that happens before people's trial. And then drug courts. We just had a very exciting development on this. Drug courts are diversionary programs where jail is not a great place to rehabilitate people who have drug or alcohol addictions, but drug courts can actually keep people out of jail or prison by providing them with intensive wraparound services to help them get help with their addictions. So we actually, there is a judge in York County who's very interested in starting this, and we are excited to be working with him to put together a committee and submit an application to the state Supreme Court to start a drug court pilot program here. I believe it will probably start in York County and then hopefully and quickly spread into our jurisdiction, into Williamsburg, James City County, and maybe beyond. So that is a very exciting program. So stay tuned for more on that. And then, of course, I won't talk anymore about our wonderful voting rights restoration program that Beth has started since we have so much on that. But just here's some information we would love for anyone who's interested in this topic to join. You don't need to know anything about criminal legal system reform. I didn't when I started into this a few years ago. You just need passion to make a difference. We meet the second Wednesday of every month at 7 on Zoom. You can also just join our list to get like updates, get those calls to write in on legislation, et cetera. We've got an online petition for people to sign saying that we should have civilian oversight of the police. If you know anyone or you yourself have had a negative interaction with Williamsburg or James City County polices, we need those stories to help make our case. So we ask that you submit. We have a way to collect that. And all of this is on our website, which is wjccjustice.org. And you can reach me or any of us through our website as well. So happy to take any questions.
Jessica, could you speak more about the diversionary programs, the alternative programs for drug courts? Would that prevent people from being classified as felons and having their rights taken away in the first place?
Yes, absolutely. That's definitely the idea. This program. So right now there's programs, if you're a first-time offender with a minor drug or alcohol charge, there's programs to help you, kind of give you a second chance and not put you in the system. This is for the next level of people who need more help and more treatment. But yes, that's the idea, to keep them out of the criminal system.
Thanks. And I'll just remind people, the way I have my screen set up, I can't see everybody's videos. So if you would like to ask a question, please don't count on me being able to see you waving into your video camera. You can either put something in the chat to let me know that you'd like me to call on you, or if you go down to your reactions button at the bottom of your screen, if you click that, there's an option there to raise your hand. And if you do that, I'll be able to identify you. Jessica
So-
O'Brien says it's great how you've expanded your concerns over the past 2 years.
Yes, and we invite, if anyone has a concern about anything in the criminal legal system, we invite you to bring that to us. There's going to be potentially some other things like restorative justice work potentially coming soon that actually David Benedict is bringing to us. So please, we're not limited to the things I presented. If you've got a passion for it, we're happy to consider it.
And the statewide effect too, that we're working with people all across the state and the different things that are going on. It's really pretty amazing to know this little engine has been able to generate all of this this good stuff. So I'm really excited to be a part of it. So.
Yes, thanks, Beth. I should have mentioned that our coalition is part of some bigger statewide coalitions, both on police accountability and also on pretrial reform. So we're working with some real powerhouse organizations around the state to get things done. And it's pretty awesome, and it's a great learning opportunity. And anybody interested in that too is welcome at any of those statewide things.
Feels like you're really being a part of something that's happening, and it's good. It's really good. Well, so I've been in texting with Steve. He is Steve's background, and Ryan, you can help me with this too. He's a minister, and he is in the middle of a couples event, and he's been trying to get away from it. So I'm going to do the best I can to tell what I know about about Steve. And then Ryan, you can help me too, because you know Steve pretty well. So Ryan's friend Steve approached Ryan and asked that I could help him have his rights restored. And Steve came. Steve is what, like 6'6". He's a real tall guy. And he came and we sat down to do the application. It was quite easy. He had forgotten his glasses, so I typed it out for him. And I just get a little nervous too when you're typing in somebody else's information. You want to make sure you're doing it right. And we got to the end of the application. Again, it's very, very easy. It just asks you a couple very easy questions, and turn to the next page. And on the status line, it said restored. And I was like, wow, how did that happen? That happened so easy. What happened? And I said, your rights are restored. And so I checked my work again to make sure I had done it correctly. And then it offered you the next page, which is to register to vote. And we went through the the whole thing to register to vote. And again, I think I mentioned, it asks if you want to be able to get your voting at home, or if you want to go and do it in place. And he looked at me and he said, "No, ma'am, I want to go and vote in person." And I was like, okay. So it was quite exciting to know that he had his rights restored. And it said actually under the date that it had been restored was 2016. So we chatted about it a little bit. And apparently in 2016, he had gone into to find out, or at some point before 2016, I should say, that to see about his rights being restored. And he was told by the clerk that because his infraction was so long ago, that it was sitting in boxes, and there was no internet back then, or there was no place to put this stuff on a computer. So she said it would probably take a long time for it to be updated. So he was never notified that it had been restored. Let me see. He's trying to get here soon. And I hate to be able to tell his story because I really wanted you to hear his story. And Ryan, do you want to say anything about this moment? Because we were kind of both sitting there and kind of watching it all kind of unfold.
Yeah. Well, he's not only just my friend, he's my pastor, and he's been my pastor for, I don't know, I don't want to get the number wrong, but I know it's been way over 10 years. And he's a very humble person. And I will say that, for being a pastor, I'm just going to just give you a little example on how he is. Just speaking on him, I know that some people, if a kid would come up to him and ask him a question, what I notice about him, he doesn't stray away from what they have to say to him, or whatever have to ask him. I've always noticed that he gives his undivided attention to the kids. I've always noticed that about him, and I admire him for that. And I know that a lot of people wouldn't do that. They wouldn't give that attention to the children, but he does. And as far as his restoration, me and him talk, off and on. We'll talk about football, we'll talk about church, and we've talked about getting our voting rights back. Now, I said I was excited. I don't know. I think we're running about a close race here, but because he was just as much excited as I was when I mentioned Beth and us getting together, to see if we could get this done. And he was just so willing to go. And me and him got together. We rode up together and we met up with Beth. And like she said, pull this information up, and wow, he could have got his voting rights 3-4 years ago. He could have been voting 3-4 years ago. But he said to me as we were coming home that if he hadn't have made the choice to come to see about getting his right restored, the necessary things that he had to do, if he hadn't have came that day, he said he would be in the same place that he had been all of these years, not even knowing that 3 or 4 years ago that he was eligible to get his right restored. If he hadn't have made that choice, that decision, that I forget her name, that was just speaking. I heard her use the word passion. If he didn't have that passion and that desire to want to get his right was restored, to see the necessary things that he had to do, he wouldn't have had them he wouldn't have known. He would have just sat there, like you said, he does all the time. When the voting comes around again, he would have just sat there and would have been in the same place that he always been for years and years and years. But making that choice, he's more in a place where, and I wish that he could speak for himself, but I know that he these are some of the things that he would say, and I'm saying it because he shared those things with me. So I'm just sorry that he couldn't speak his own, tell his own story. But
there's a hook to this too. What is really so special about this story is Steve has never voted.
yes,
He's 70 years old and he'd never voted.
That's correct. Yeah.
That's the hook here that I wanted him to tell you. And I wish I could, because I thought it had only been like 20 years. And I said to him, I said, wow, that's really like 20 years. And he looked at me and he said, no, ma'am, it's been 70 years. And I just about, and he started to get a little tear in his eye and I started to get a tear in my eye because I just, I mean, what do you say? I mean, there's no words for that, he had his rights restored. And what was sweet is his daughter, Jessica sent it to me because I don't do Facebook. His daughter had posted a Facebook announcement saying that she had taken her father to vote. And that it was the first time he had ever voted, and she helped him at the polling place. And I don't know. Again, it gave me such a sense of, there's been a lot of dark days in this last couple years, and this was just one really special, bright moment that I feel very honored and blessed to be a part of. So I'm just, he's because he's a pastor and because apparently he's with a bunch of married couples and he really feels like he has to give them their himself. I really sad that he's not here, but I do want to say that he's a really, and the reason I told you is like 6'6", he's this gentle giant of a guy that was, I had a sense in my heart that, it was a real powerful experience to go. We just both sat there and went, oh, your rights are restored. It's like, this is like, it's already happened. So, I just feel, I feel very, very, very grateful to be a part of both Ryan and Steve's experience because, and just the value of our ability to vote and have a voice is just, so incredible. And just hearing, all of us have now heard Jessica, all of the information that we now have to hear about, understand what's going on here in Williamsburg, here in our community, the injustice of the system and how it's really, it's part of who we all need to, what we need to all be doing is being a part of this, because it's, we're all people here, and we're all important people and we all should have a voice. So
Beth, we have a question from Thayer, perhaps best directed to Jessica, but I suppose any of you, if you have thoughts on this, what do you think will happen with Governor Youngkin, with the Youngkin administration?
Go ahead, Jessica.
Well, I'd like to say great things, but no, it was crushing on a lot of fronts, on a lot of legislative things that we're working on. But, because he is also going to drive the House agenda as well. So I think there's absolutely a need. We're just going to have to get more bipartisan partners on much of this work. Unfortunately, a lot of the things that Youngkin tried to run on was criminal justice reform that had happened and trying to say that, that was resulting in, increased crime, et cetera, which just is not the case. The recent increase in crime that we hear about in the news, it's homicide rates, but not much else. So it's not the numbers that they make it out to seem. There's a lot of twisting of the data for political reasons. So, I talked about the council at first appearance bill. We're going to be working really hard to get a Republican co-sponsor on that legislation, because it really is a bipartisan issue. It's a constitutional issue that people do have a right to representation in court. And constitutional issues often play well on both sides of the aisle. So we're just, there's a lot of, we can go after a lot of libertarian support on some of these issues as well. So we'll just be looking for some of those things. We know with our omnibus legislation to completely rehaul the system, we may be waiting a little bit longer, but there might also be another run of elections due to redistricting. So we can hold out hope for that, but we'll definitely keep plugging away. And locally, we will continue doing everything locally, because it didn't affect any of our local representatives. It didn't change anything on that front. But really, no matter what happens, I mean, we win, we lose, but we keep fighting. So we'll still be doing the work.
Can I share my screen, Jody?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So since Steve's not here, I'm going to show you a picture of Steve so that you can see, get a sense of who Steve is. Is it up there? I can't tell if it's.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, there.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So this is Steve, and this is his daughter. This is his daughter.
That's his wife.
Oh, that's his wife. Okay. I got the message, and so that's how, but you see, he's got 2 stickers on his chest too. He wanted to make sure that, but that's Steve. And I'm really, really sorry he wasn't here to share his story. And I hope Brian and I did it justice. Because I just feel really special that I was a part of an experience, and I hope that I can continue on to do this. What I'd like also, if anyone would like some of these cards, I can arrange to get them to you. It's kind of nice to have them in your pocket, so that if you're talking, chatting with somebody, and you can say, hey, you ever know anybody who might, want to have their rights restored? Whatever we can to do to get the information out there. One of the things I'm going to be doing now is really kind of start making a list and going to some of the churches, some of different organizations to, see if there are to just announce that we're doing this and start reaching crowds of people. If we can give the cards out, we can, the work is simple. I certainly absolutely would love to be a part of helping people, but if we can reach more folks and get the word out and get more information to people, then, I'm all about that. So if you also have an organization you feel like it would be served for us to go and stick ourselves in the middle of it, I'd be glad to help that happen. And we have some great cards for the coalition as well. So
David just had to leave, but he did send a message of congratulations to Steve and asked Ryan to please pass that along to him and to thank him for letting us learn of his story tonight.
Yes, so will.
Anyone else have any questions? I really thank you all for coming out. I know you've stuck with All Together for a long time, and I think we're doing good work. I think there's more work to be done, and it takes all of us all together to do that. And I think I've talked to other people that have been in the All Together organization for a while. I think the persons that have gone on and actually have passed away that started this organization would be really proud of what we've been able to accomplish. And if you have a desire to be part of the inner workings. We've got some committees. Again, I talked about the Black Lives Matter lemonade stand. We have all kinds of events, and we want to do more. We just need people to help. So with that, if there's any other questions, anybody else have anything that they want to share or stuff going on? So that's it. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. Thank you. As I always say to my folks and my friends, I love you all.
Well,
night.
too.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Thanks so
Thank you.
much,
This was
everybody.
wonderful. Thank you. Good
Bye.
day.
Fabulous.